You're listening to BQN. Assimilate the audio.
Welcome, listeners, to another episode of All Good Things, the Star Trek Universe podcast here on BQN and the Fandom Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mark, and with me today are Amy, Christos, and Kelvin. Hey, guys.
Hello, hello.
Hello there.
Hi.
Hey, it's been a fun week, huh? A lot of great stuff to talk about. Hey, Christos, you had some news for us you want to throw out there?
Oh, I was going to let everybody know Strange New Worlds is out on Blu-ray, and the reason I feel it's significant is it's the first time it's on iTunes with all the special features. They must have heard me complaining when Picard Season 2 and Discovery Season 4 came out, because that was always my beef. I'd rather just own it digitally, but you miss out on hours of really cool special features. And there are literally like 57-minute behind-the-scenes documentaries on the iTunes special features, which normally we just get like 2 minutes in here or a 3-minute clip here, and that's all they give you on iTunes. And the really cool thing, and I think this is a measure of just how popular the show is it's number one on iTunes here in the U.S., and it's been all weekend. So the only time I've ever seen a Star Trek show do that is when they put like TNG on sale for $30 for the entire series. Mm-hmm. And so, pretty cool.
Show me the bloopers.
Yes, there is a blooper reel, and there are deleted scenes. And then...
Yes. So exciting.
Yes.
Well, listeners, now it's time for Escape Pod.
This is the bridge. All hands to emergency escape pods.
Awesome. So I'm guessing everybody has watched the latest episode of Star Trek Picard, titled The Bounty. Thoughts?
I loved it. I don't understand how, I don't appreciate how it's just getting better and better every single episode. Like when like last week, and then episode 4 was amazing. How are they doing it? So I just get more and more excited. The thing I love the hiding in plain sight aspect of this episode, of the title being The Bounty, and it features the bounty from the one with the whales. So even that is just genius. I loved it.
Yeah, I think I was talking to our group the other day, and I was saying, hey, it's like amazing that not only are there no bad episodes, there's no so-so episodes. I mean, every one is just amazing. And they just continue to get better, or at least maintain. I would say my favorite episode so far is still episode 4, but 5 and 6 have been amazing, and they only just keep getting better. And I feel like this is the first time all 7 cast members have been in the same episode, at least.
Yeah. On the everybody being present, I know everyone keeps talking on social media about crying at every episode, and I cried again this week. One of the things that set me off was the end credits, to see the also starring special guest star for everybody. And that's obviously the first time since Nemesis that they've all shared a credit. So yeah, even that was a big deal. Let's not even get started on the Seven and Voyager scene. That was just beautiful.
It was so incredible. The allegory for 7 of 9 and trans people that they keep on pulling through the season, talking about where she was reborn, and I get all the feels. And of course the music doesn't hurt, They know how to get you.
I'm a Voyager fan, but, I'm not Captain Jeremiah. It's not like my absolute favorite, but I'm a Voyager fan, and geez, that was the first time in the episode, one of the first times in this whole viewing of Star Trek Picard, where my eyes just started watering and I started choking up, and I was like, it's just not gonna Voyager.
So I wanted to ask Amy what her thoughts on kind of Troy's entrance being the damsel in distress. How do you feel about that?
I am really hoping that they do not go Troy is the victim. She has been the victim all series. So I really do not want to see this. I'm hoping that once they figured out that Riker was stolen, that they automatically contacted Troy. So Troy is in on it, so that if she was taken, she's really going to be the catalyst to get Riker back.
Ah, right. So she's the hero then. So she's the kind of undercover face of the enemy job.
That's what I'm hoping for, because we don't need to see another victim.
Yeah.
There's no way they wrote her bad. I mean, literally every single character is getting the best writing of, that we've ever seen these characters in. There's no way they're just going to be like afterthought with Troy.
Yeah.
No, they're going to give Troy some love.
One thought I had, and I don't think it's going to be true, but that could be a changeling posing as Troy.
Yeah, I thought that too.
But I don't think that that's going to be the way it is, especially since they worked so hard to set up the go find family members and friends at the beginning of the episode. That was in there for a reason.
Yeah, we said that earlier, and if you consider if that was a changeling, that would mean that Troy is still just at home, out of the story. So we might be giving Marina something to do if she's a changeling, but really we want Troy, we want the character. So yeah, I immediately thought that could just be a ploy to get the information out of Riker, and then there's a reveal of a changeling, but I hope not. I don't think so.
Yeah.
So I just gotta say, I told everybody so. I knew they were gonna get captured, and I've been saying it all season. Everybody's like, "What? No!" But like, it showed it right in the opening trailer for the whole season. You saw them both on Vadic's ship. I was like, "Well, at some point they're captured." Well, here they are. They're captured.
I mean, I agree with you, but it could have been easily beam over to go look for something. How many times have you, But you did call it. So,
Speaking of something else you called, Mark, you did say for all the way that you don't think Law is a villain, and it's such a misdirect that they said Brent Spiner's going to play Law when he is a little bit. Let's face it, but it's Data. It's going to be Data.
he's also playing other characters too.
Yeah,
that was some crazy good acting. The way he was just on a dime on the same shot, not like it wasn't like they cut back and he got a minute to get into the zone or anything. He was doing it in real time. That was pretty crazy.
What is your opinions on putting all of the Spiner characters in a blender and hitting puree? What's your opinion on that?
I don't think that's what we'll get. I think that's the exposition of what they've done, but it'll kind of, settle. I don't think you'll get kind of schizophrenic Spiner. I think we'll just end up with Data very, very soon.
I disagree. I think it's going to be schizophrenic the whole way, because if you notice what the first trailer we got for this season, you have that shot of Jurati looking over and like, Lord. So I think at some point, like, he fizzles out and becomes Lore, and then back to Data, and then back to B4, and I think it's like Masks all over again,
Yeah, I think for this mashup of Soong characters, this Data Golem, I guess, is really feeding into the story, especially this episode, of you're passing down your traits. And so we are getting this mashup, and we're seeing Data trying to fight through all these different other programs and personalities, especially the AI programming they was trying to break through. Like each of those flashbacks of the Crow, Data was trying to overcome his dreaming, and then when we see Moriarty, like Data was trying to overcome and, beat Moriarty. Like these things are this thread, and when you combine it with the story of Picard and Jack and what they passed down, and that beautiful recording by Alton Soong in trying to decide evolution is addition. It's what we pass down, and we're hoping that we're passing down our best. And so this Data Golem is hopefully the best of all of the previous iterations. And I loved that.
I predict that Troy is going to help whatever you want to call him sort through it. I think that's going to be part of the story.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, that's giving her something to do that's in her, what she does best. So, so I hang on for that. So are you guys keeping up with Ready Room at all?
Haven't watched it this week yet.
Well, don't worry about it. All I'm going to say is they're teasing a mystery guest next week, and which also leads me to believe there will be somebody in episode 7 who has not been teased or shown. It's going to be another Rolaran type of character, I think, in next week's episode. So anybody want to speculate as to who's coming next week?
So the episode is called Dominion. So it could be Jeffrey Combs as Wayoon. Or it could, she's really old, but it could be Salome Jens as the female changeling. And I've heard on the grapevine that it's a flashback episode, so it's Vadic's backstory. So if it's a flashback, it doesn't matter that Wayoon's final clone is dead, because it could flash back to when he was alive. Or it could be, as these changelings splintered off from the Alpha Quadrant changelings in the Dominion War. So there could be some kind of conflict with the female changeling saying we don't agree the war's over or something. So they're my 2 predictions. I think it's more likely to be Jeffrey Combs, because why wouldn't it be? He's in everything else. But yeah, with an episode title like Dominion, come on.
Julian Brashear.
Ooh.
I have the one guess.
He's still hanging on to that one. I love it.
Well, just a lot of this season's been peppered with Section 31 clues, and I believe that's sort of where they took his character with like the book series and whatnot. And if they're gonna, use any of that, which they have been picking and choosing stuff from the books, I think that would be a great way to introduce him. So I don't know. I'm fingers crossed that it's Julian Bashir, because it'd be great to see that actor in Trek again.
That would be kind of cool if Section 31 catches up with the Titan, and because they're also in the game and they know what's going on with the infiltration and whatnot, they're friendly toward the Titan and not trying to be like the rest of Starfleet and capture it and think that they're renegades. They're in on what we're trying to do here. So that could track.
Terry had said that there were going to be people showing up in this series, cameos and stuff, that weren't necessarily from TNG and that were going to be from the other shows. Now, that discounts Worf, because Worf, even though he was on DS9, he was in TNG. Like, it's going to be somebody that's not connected. Same with 7. I don't think it refers to 7 either, because she's already been in Picard Season 1 and 2. This person's going to be from one of the other shows. It's not going to be somebody adjacent to TNG. It's going to be somebody that was regular on Deep Space Nine or somebody that was regular on Voyager, but I'm guessing Deep Space Nine. It's got to be Deep Space Nine. So I think Julian.
No, I really have no idea. The fact that they brought in Ro when I didn't even know I needed that story closed. We knew about Moriarty. I thought he was going to be a bigger play, not just a cameo. So I was a little disappointed with that, but loved to see him. So no, I have no idea who they're going to be. I'm fully on board with your suggestions. So good job, guys.
Contrary to what you've just said, Mark, about the crossover, like Seven and Worf, if they are going down full TNG nostalgia and they want to find a way to bring a legacy TNG character that makes sense to the Dominion War, they could bring Chief O'Brien. And that would reunite him with the TNG family, but you've got the DS9 connection. But I don't think Colin would be up for it. I think he'd probably be one of the actors that would say no. I have a feeling so, but I love it. That all of these, I would be overjoyed with any of these people that we've suggested. It's amazing.
Well, you never would have thought that the actress that played Ro would ever associate herself with Trek again, but here she was. So Colin Meaney, at least, really loved his time on Trek and speaks very highly of it, like whenever he's like interviewed and stuff. So I don't think he'd be that adverse to coming back.
Yeah.
It could be Colin Meaney.
Well, maybe it's just cons he doesn't do then. So, but he's still a working actor, isn't he? So yeah.
Hey, what did you think about? Did you see there was a little flirtation between Jack and Sydney, or was he just putting on his boyish charms to convince them to steal the bounty's cloaking device?
No. I think there was
we're shipping him.
Yeah, there was a lot of flirting going on, including having to have Jurati make the comment of "stay away from my daughter." So it was on screen as well, since Jurati acknowledged it. But No, it's interesting. I couple things. I mean, I knew Moriarty only shot one day on set, so I wasn't expecting a ton. I wish they never even mentioned it. You know, I would have been more surprised and flipped out if he had just came out of nowhere, kind of like Ro did, than having it teased in a trailer and spoiled that way. I feel like there's starting to be, like, even Terry Matalas, like 2 days before Ro was on, there's a major TNG something this week, and I kind of predicted it would be Ro. And he came out and said that the next 2 episodes are, Crusher and Picard are going to be together the next 2 episodes. Like, stop! We're already watching! You don't need, and I don't need any more teases. We're in it. I'm so focused. Let's just, it's fun to speculate, but I don't need the guy who knows all the answers giving more breadcrumbs, because it's, at this point, we're engaged. We're not going to stop watching. But I am holding out. I didn't make my prediction. I still think Kira's going to show up in the season. So potentially this next episode or not. But I think Kira's coming. So,
well, since we're talking about interesting pairings, I think we should pivot to maybe talking about the Borg Queen and Jurati. But before we do that, let's just break down what we're going to be talking about this week for watching Star Trek Picard Season 2. Christos, do you want to break down what we're going to be talking about this week?
Sure. We're going to be talking about our Undercover series. This is part 4 in our series, and it's Picard Season 2, Episode 6, 2 of 1. And for those of you who need a little refresher, this is the one where Jurati sings. Yes. But the official is Talon helps Picard and the crew infiltrate a gala on the eve of a joint space mission to protect an astronaut they believe is integral to restoring the timeline, Renee Picard. And then also, Kore makes a startling discovery about her father's work. So there's that whole, that secondary storyline there. Yeah, it was kind of fun to just go back and revisit this episode because we've been so in season 3 of Picard. So to kind of go back and watch an episode and kind of make some, even just some, for me, was like obviously making some comparisons to this current season. It was kind of fun to go back and do a little bit of compare and contrast.
I know everyone's going on about how good Season 3 is, so it might feel a bit odd to go back to Season 2. But I will say, for the record, this is my favourite episode from Season 2. From the moment I saw it, I loved it. I just think it really...
Better than 10?
Yes, I know 10's amazing, but there's this really... It made me fall in love with Jurati and Alison Pill, who plays her. And obviously the performance that the Borg Queen gives in this it's magnificent. It's perfect, one would say.
I was surprised. I didn't see this in trivia at all, but I'd be interested to know, as far as length of time goes, is this the shortest episode of any of the Star Treks? Like, it clocked in at 38 minutes, and we still had the 2-minute preview and however long the introduction was. Like, really, the episode itself might have only been like 30 minutes.
Wow, I never clocked that.
Yeah.
It moves
really
fast.
short.
The episode moves fast, though. So it feels, I'm engaged in it, so it didn't feel
short. I
short.
think Discovery, Season 1, Episode 2, Battle of the Binary Stars would be shorter, because that one was a really short one.
Which is kind of a two-parter, but yeah.
Yeah. And this one is too, but it's very hard with Star Trek Picard to pop in and out because they are so interconnected. But as you guys know, yeah, this is the one with the singing. It's quite the highlight.
It's funny. I really enjoy it. I've been actually, kind of side note, I've been on this like Pat Benatar kick lately, listening to a lot of Pat Benatar. So I loved revisiting Shadows of the Night by Alison Pill was very nice. I enjoyed that this morning. Kicking off our topic here, I think we'd be remiss if we don't talk about Annie Wersching, who passed away just a few months ago of cancer. I believe these performances in this season of Picard were her final acting performances.
That's right. And, life and death has that strange effect of, the strange bookend of her career that Annie's first acting role was on Enterprise when she was in the season 1 episode with Renee as well. And then her final episodes, her final acting role is in Star Trek again. So her career came full 360.
I feel like this is a great episode in general for her, especially. I love, this is that part in the middle of the season where it's like the Borg Queen and Jurati are kind of like stealing the entire season. And I really, especially in this episode, they're just kind of like this duo that you just can't take your eyes off of.
And who would have thought that back at season 1, that Jurati would be all of a sudden like the breakout of like season 2? Because she was kind of, to me, a really annoying first season.
Well, they made her very unlikable, and almost by design, because she, but they obviously wrote her much differently for season 2. Kelvin.
With Jurati, obviously, the fact that she killed Bruce Maddox in season 1 didn't really make her the most likable character. Under the influence of Mind Meld or not, she just didn't also seem very Starfleet, which is not really something that we gravitate to. But she was really smart in this episode. If you think of episode 1 where she's on the Stargazer and she's doing all the science and, the Starfleet team are deferring to her, she's really established, but she's got that comedy. But what I really loved about Annie Wersching's Borg Queen is it's been long established that you can have a different flavour of Borg Queen. They're not, all the 3 different actors that play the Borg Queen are not trying to copy each other. So you have the very sexualized First Contact Borg Queen that we see with Alice Krieger seducing Data, and then Susanna Thompson's is very, just evil, and she's like killing all the drones and dissecting them. But this kind of camp humor and really witty Borg Queen that you get through Annie is, in my opinion, the best Borg Queen. And I never thought I'd say that because First Contact is so dear to my heart. But it could have really been distasteful. It could have gone the other way. And the fact she's going around calling her dear every 5 minutes. But it works. And it's the perfect mix of the dialogue and the delivery from Annie. She just really, really made that character her own. So it's a 10 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, I like this Borg Queen basically going undercover as Jurati. Like, we get to see that. And we were talking about season 1, again, with Jurati being under the influence of Commodore O. Like, man, Jurati is... she's sort of being controlled a lot. Poor Jurati. But the Queen, oh my gosh, how well... she manipulates Jurati's like, come on, you need to have fun. Not realizing that it was those endorphins that's actually going to allow her to take over. And it's like the cat is out of the bag, and she gets control. Like, that's some serious undercover operations going on there.
Yeah, I felt like it's obviously a big manipulation job that she's doing there, and it was just just a little bit here, a little bit there, and by the end of the episode, she took her over. What did we feel about? There's an early part where she's in the security room, and the Borg Queen just kind of helps her break her handcuffs. How do we feel about that? That kind of snapped me out of it for a hot second when I was rewatching it this morning.
For what reason? Why did it break you out of it?
Well, I mean, okay, I know she's got nanoprobes running through her or anything, but, it's still human flesh, and that is steel, and suddenly give her super strength, okay, but wouldn't that still, I would feel like there would be damage to the tissue just from, even if the strength could be there, she's not Wonder Woman, So I just felt like there should have been, that would have been ugly if she even did it. It was a little bit unbelievable to me. Not a little bit, very unbelievable to me.
In my headcanon, I looked at it like when you see people that are learning karate and stuff, and they're chopping through like bricks and layers of wood. It's like, to me, it's that same kind of thing where she hit it the right way, and this is what happened. I don't know. That's how I solved it in my head. I was like, okay, well, she just, in her head mathematically knew the right strength and the right angle to just sort of to do it. So I just, whatever, it's fine. In my head, I was fine with
I
it.
never considered it, but now I'm thinking about it. I would like to think that maybe some nanoprobes went into the metal and denatured it, so it was a bit more brittle.
And my question would then be, well, if she broke off the one handcuff, why didn't she break off all of them to get out of the chair?
There you go.
She did, though, didn't she? She broke them both at the same time.
No, she had to struggle to finally get over. And it's like, come
She was struggling to get over, but then she broke both the handcuffs at once and was able to stand up and walk away.
The struggling, that's the reason the Borg Queen helped her break him, because she was struggling to move that chair and it wasn't enough. And
okay.
Rios was about to be fingered there at the security stand. So she was desperate.
What do we think of Jurati, though, in this? Because it was established before that she's a little bit of an outsider and she's incredibly lonely and she wants a bit of connection. They've also very cleverly kind of dropped in with the Borg as well, that you have to give yourself to the Borg and almost allow it. And the Borg, the process of being assimilated can actually make you feel really good, which more like a drug, contrary to everyone thinking it would be horrible, seeing everyone have your limbs chopped off and stuff. So the lure of the Borg for Aggie was really plausible to me. And almost, I'm not saying she let it happen, but she certainly had been groomed by the Borg Queen for a few episodes to give herself over. So it made me feel really sorry for Aggie, and it just got me thinking of maybe times in your past where you've fallen in with the wrong crowd yourself, or you're an outsider and you want to look cool, and maybe you've done things that you, as an adult, wouldn't look back on and think, ooh, that was a mistake. So yeah, I don't know if anyone else reflected on that scene and poor Agnes' motivations.
that would be me in the 80s wearing neon green suspenders.
Please tell me there's a picture of this, Amy.
No. Thank goodness there is not. Oh my gosh. You guys remember that neon face?
Oh yeah.
I was trying to fit in.
Yeah.
Didn't look good.
I've got the music to fame going through my head as we speak now. Mark?
Well, one thing that this episode made me think of wasn't necessarily that, as far as doing something that maybe the in crowd was doing and I wanted to participate. But I was thinking about when they're all at the party and they're having to sort of fake who they are to get into the party and be a different version of themselves there to sort of slip under the radar. And I was thinking about different times in my life where I've been places or in scenarios where I had to fake it till I make it, or just was at a party and just sort of pretending to have a good time when inside I'm not necessarily having the best time. What are you guys' thoughts? Can you relate to that at all? Anybody been there, or is it just me?
Oh, that is me at every social gathering. It's, I would rather talk to the plant in the corner, sometimes. So watching Jurati, sort of having that fight with the Borg Queen, very similar to me, okay, Amy, just go talk to people. What's the problem? And that back and forth between myself that she was having with the Queen, I have done. And sometimes it's just, okay, just relax, release. Like the Borg Queen was saying, we just go have fun. So I have had very similar conversations. Christos.
Amy, there's a complete difference there. You do not have this problem when in the presence of Star Trek cruises or Star Trek conventions and things like that. You are a different person than the one you were just describing.
Yes, that is true. Trek Amy is very different. Borg Queen has assimilated me.
So, yeah, I was going to say there could be some little allegories there for what we're talking about here. It's like, when you're enticed with the right environment, you can assimilate just fine. Yeah, I think, the only problem I have as I rewatch this and we discuss back on Jurati as a whole, because, if you think about it, Jurati's in less than 20 episodes of Star Trek. So when you think about that, it's kind of like, wow, you remember how short some of these shows and some of these seasons are. But she's always kind of the victim, She was the victim in season 1 of Commodore O's mind meld, and in season 2, she's the victim of the Borg Queen. And obviously, in the end, gets lost altogether and becomes the Borg Queen permanently. But she's always, being manipulated or used in a way. And I don't know, for a character that's only in a handful of episodes, I don't know how I feel about that. That's kind of not cool.
Well, that's what happens to a lot of kids that end up in the wrong crowd, in high school, and end up involved in shootings. There's always one person that manipulates somebody else into joining up and buying guns or whatever. And it's especially here in America, we see that way too often. But it's these kids that are feeling lonely, feeling vulnerable, feeling like outcasts are the easiest, I guess, to get manipulated to do these heinous sort of things.
Yeah, I didn't actually see Aggie. I know obviously she's the victim of the Borg Queen in that she is assimilated and controlled, but the final destination of Aggie, when she becomes the Borg Queen in episode 10, I actually found that really comforting. She'd found what she'd been looking for. And, we might be kind of projecting humanity a little bit too much in that, she's been assimilated, she looks like a Borg Queen. But I think that was good for her. She's got this connection now, and if we're led to believe the kind of retcon almost a little bit with season 3, that they're not really the main Borg, they're just a little sub-collective, as the captain of the Titan says, all the Stargazer shit that went on, the real Borg are out there. So I like it. I like that Aggie's got her little do-gooding collective.
Hey, we're the Borg. Resistance is kind of optional.
Okay, so if we connect season 2 with season 3 of Picard with what we were saying about evolution is addition, and that you have this mashup of all these datas, we see that with the Borg Queen and Jurati. Even back in First Contact, where the Borg Queen's or Picard was that's it. You wanted me to freely give myself. She wanted Data to give himself. That was that condition. So we get that conclusion in season 2, where it's this mashup of Jurati, who gave herself willingly, and the Borg Queen. So now we have this better and improved Borg situation because of Jurati. So if we can apply that to maybe even Data, get this mashup, that we're gonna maybe get the best going forward.
Look at you talking your way through that, Amy. Very good, very good. So what do we think about some of the other characters being undercover in this episode? Because it's not just obviously about Jurati and the Borg Queen, but you got Seven and Rafi and Rios and Laris. Well, not Laris. Talon. Somebody, those show notes.
Everyone's gets Talon and Laris mixed up. I want to just give Seven a mention. She hardly speaks in this episode. She's got about 3 lines altogether. But I love when Rafi's at the bar with Rios and she says, "Oh, look at her over there having a great time." Those Borg implants come with a lot of baggage. So Seven's undercover simply by appearing fully human. Nobody knows her. She's there with a massive glass of red wine, having the time of her life, looking amazing in that dress. And I loved it. I just thought that it's a bit like Seven in the Voyager episode, Human Error, in season 7, where she's got her little Chakotay fantasy and she's fraternizing with the crew. I just thought she's still struggling with that, even all these years later. And a bit like when someone does drag and you've got this persona that you can present. She's life and soul of the party, going chatting with everyone. And yeah, I felt really happy for her.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of thoughts about this. I mean, yes, I do like the drag allegory, because I know people, you do that, you kind of become somebody else, and it's a licensed to, have confidence and be a different persona. I feel like with, where Seven's always struggled since being, deborged and re-entering society, is she's always had these, visual reminders for anybody she's interacting with that she was Borg and currently still has Borg components on her. And, it could be likened to having this handicap and then having the handicap removed and just being normal. And because, I don't know if I'm being too extreme with that, because that's kind of what it is. You've had this, handicap to a certain, because it really affects the way people treat you, and then suddenly you're free of it, and you're just kind of opening up and being free. But we see by the end of the season she's returned to the Seven we know, and she kind of accepts it finally. It's almost like she's finally accepted this. This is a arc to finally accept who she is. By being freed of it for a temporary amount of time, but realizing, no, that's who I've always been, and I'm good with that.
Even though there's a lot of drama and jeopardy going on, I feel season 2 Seven has the opportunity to be happier. Obviously, there's the relationship with Raffi, but season 1 Seven, you've got the whole Icheb and the Fenris Rangers. She's not in a good place, season 1 Seven. So this is the transition between angry season 1 Seven to season 3 Starfleet Seven, and I like the journey that she's been on. Can I bring it a little bit serious with kind of thinking of Renee Picard a little bit? There's the whole issue with, is she going to go ahead with the mission? She's got all these self-saboteur type behaviours, a huge amount of imposter syndrome. And, the fake it till you make it has probably never been more relevant. And when you look at Renee and having her panic attacks and little messages to her therapist Q saying, I can't do it, I'm not going through with it. So, yeah, what do we all think of that? It's really sad to see that depicted so openly, of here's a character that struggles.
I think doubt is something we all struggle with on some level, some more than others, some very much. We can second guess ourselves. We can not necessarily have the confidence that we need to do what we want to do or what we think we should do, or we sometimes have imposter syndrome, or we feel like I don't deserve to be here, although other people think I do. I don't feel like I've earned it. All right, I'm not good enough, or all these people are just fooled because they think I'm great, but I'm not. And I think that's a self-confidence thing. That's that I think we struggle with. Like I said, some people better than others. And I feel, for example, the older I get in life, the more sure of myself I become. It's something I've struggled with in the past of should I have this job, or should I be doing this, or should someone have trusted me to this? I don't know if I can pull this off. And I think we've all done that. Should I be, making a big move? Can I do this? I mean, when I was 18, I moved from Ohio to Hawaii for college all by myself. And I was like, what the hell? You know how many times I'm like, what am I doing? And there were so many times in the first year or two that I'm like, I'm going to throw in the towel and go home, because this is a lot, But it's like this is where some people suck it up, I feel like, and they power through and they do things. And I think that's Renee's struggle is, and she's getting a little nudging from some, other people. And obviously in this particular episode or season, there are people working against her actually to give her more doubt. So yeah, it's a struggle for sure.
I just want to bring up if we look at the cast of, I guess, all the major Oscar winners this year, and the journeys that those actors have been on, especially Brendan Fraser, he's dealt with a lot of self-doubt in the past, especially after his enormous success in the late 90s, early aughts, and then just sort of disappeared. And same with is it Ki Kwan? from the Goonies and Indiana Jones movies. He took himself out of Hollywood. He just didn't think that he would ever be able to have a success because he didn't think those roles would ever be, put out there for him, And so it's like sometimes your inner saboteur can have the best of you. But then, if you have, I guess, like a dream or a vision, it's up to you to soldier up and push past them. And then this is what can come of it. And I think that was the story of a lot of those Oscar winners this year. It's just like they all, around the same time, sort of figured out, no, we're going to go and we're going to attack this thing. We're going to go after our dreams. And then this was the result of it. So it was really inspiring this year to see.
Yeah, I like, Christos, what you were saying about that doubt where, Renee is talking to Picard and he gives such really good advice. She's like, feeling like you said, this imposter, and she's not this great astronaut that everyone thinks she is. Like, she has those self-doubts and, maybe it's, trying to tell me that I shouldn't go up and pilot. And Picard says, fear is fear. It doesn't speak in riddles. It's not... That is what it is. It's fear. So you either work through it or you let it conquer you. It's not trying to tell you anything. It's you have this fear. It's not trying to trick you. Just work through it and recognize, don't give it any more power. And I think that was really good advice to overcome this imposter syndrome.
Well, I was wondering how long it would take in my podcasting world to mention Belinda Carlisle, but she suffered for years from imposter syndrome. The Go-Go's had a first number one album by an all-female band by the time she was like 23 or 24, and developed a drug habit for all these years of feeling like an imposter because I don't deserve this. I'm not that great of a person. I'm not doing anything special. And it took years to finally break through that and realize, no, I'm what I'm doing. I do deserve what I'm getting, and this success I've had is, not luck. Well, not something that just was misplaced, I guess. And you see that a lot. A lot of people go to some far extremes to deal with imposter syndrome, and including, self-medicating to, kind of escape those feelings. And so I think the better we do with kind of just being true to ourselves and seeking help when you need it, it kind of goes back to mental health. Unfortunately, in Renee's situation, her therapist is obviously working against her, which is Q. But honestly, in real life, if you're ever having these feelings, it's probably something you should talk to a friend about or somebody professionally, because most of the time, imposter syndrome is just in our head, and it's not like there are people who are doing things that they shouldn't be doing and have been promoted to jobs and are obviously not being qualified to do some of the things that they're doing. I don't disagree that, but a lot of times imposter syndrome is just in our heads, and it's having a good support system that kind of helps you work through that.
I also think that, for myself, what helps is to give myself the grace that I would give somebody else. Like if somebody came to me and they said they were having these issues, what would I say to that person? Well, the important thing is to say that to yourself each day. Give yourself that advice and that care and that love that you would give to somebody else. And so to piggyback on that, Picard, we know Picard. We've been with Picard for over 30 years, and he's given us some great advice over the years. He gives Renee some great advice this episode. What do you guys think about the advice? Do you guys have advice maybe that was given to you by somebody you want to share, or do you want to share some of the advice Picard gave this episode? Feel free.
I was given some great advice by this dear lady who showed me how to edit a podcast and put some local audio onto a recording when it was all brand new to me. So her name was Amy Nelson. Aww. She's such a sweetheart.
I know. For some reason, Mark, when you're talking about this, I can't stop at thinking of daily affirmations with Stuart Smalley. I'm good enough. I'm smart enough. And gosh darn it, people like me. Remember that?
Oh, absolutely. And it's not bad. Daily affirmations are not bad. They're funny, but they're good.
It's not. And I know I'm making fun of it, but it's actually, those are sometimes what you just got to do to get through situations. Like, you have that little chat with yourself. Advice people have given me. I'm kind of at a loss thinking of something prolific to say here, but. It's funny. I just did this whole round of customer experience training at my company, and I found myself quoting a boss I had when I was 16 years old, and it was dealing with difficult customers. It's like kill them with kindness. That was what I was told. Kill them with kindness because people have a hard time yelling at you or being an ass to you if you're not engaging and rising to their level and meeting them there. And it's kind of just funny that I said, well, it must have meant something to me because I'm 45 years old and I keep thinking about something I learned when I was 16. So kill them with kindness.
I've literally used that expression at work this week.
It's good advice.
Wow.
It's a good one.
So this week I have struggled quite a bit professionally, and doing these podcasts definitely is good advice because Picard tells Renee, talking about something else besides the problem sometimes helps. Mark, we had a fabulous conversation. I was not doing good, had a phone call, and we were talking everything but the problem. And that helped so much to just take a break because I've had this problem. It's been on my brain every second. I'm thinking about it. I'm deliberating. I'm trying to process all these feelings. And it was so heavy on me. And so to come to this weekend where I get to talk Star Trek, where I get to put in and watch an episode, like it helps to take a break because I have been constantly thinking about it so much and nothing's getting done. So I think that is really good advice, not to avoid, but to just talk about something else to give your brain a break from what's bothering you.
I agree. Sometimes we get ourselves so wound up that if you can find a way to unplug, as we say, and just let things settle and simmer, sometimes when you come back to it, you have a fresh perspective, and things that maybe you thought were huge are not as huge as you thought, or at least maybe you have a better idea of how to deal with it, or you've at least at the bare minimum calmed down and can come back to it. Otherwise, you can mentally exhaust yourself with that stress.
Well, everybody, we have some assimilations and regenerations this week. If our listeners remember, assimilations are things that we liked about the episode. Regenerations are things that we dislike and are going to send back to the regeneration chamber. So take it away.
Okay. My assimilations for this episode, we already talked about Jurati singing. That red dress, her performance, yes, I am all down for that. But what I found just so endearing was Rios's fascination with this 21st century. He's just so excited about it, and he's like showing Rafi, look, this is little matches in this box, and you strike it. That is so cute. Those down times, understanding Rios, so adorable. Assimilate that completely.
I agree with that 100%. I loved, especially his interaction with Rafi. Like, who the hell are you? Because you're not normally this happy a person. So you get a really good scene there with the two of them. And I love that it does foreshadow that Rios will end up staying back in time, because it shows beyond Teresa, there's other things that he likes about the 20th century or 21st century.
Yeah, all the honking of the traffic.
Yeah, definitely sets it up.
I want to put out another. I know I keep going on about how much I love Michelle Hurd, but just this episode, the representation of somebody who's struggling with addiction, and yes, it was really in your face. She went up to the bar, she wanted a whiskey and she ordered a club soda, but it was very underplayed in that it was just a moment, and then it isn't in the story, but it's constantly ongoing. It never ends. There's always going to be that temptation. So I thought that was great. But then pivot to moments of great comedy in her dialogue as well, where they're all around Picard's body at the end, and people are discussing if Talon can go in and do this kind of mind meld almost. And she's saying, what could possibly go wrong? And then off camera, tons, obviously. I just think I love the woman.
Yeah. I always liked Michelle Hurd's performance, and I love Rafi. And someone really rubbed me the wrong way the other day. They're like, oh, isn't she so much better in season 3? She's likable. And look, she called him Jean-Luc and not JL. I'm like, well, I was fine with all of that. I've been fine with Rafi all along. And this episode only reminds me more, even in that very serious scene where, they figure out that Jean-Luc's in a coma at the end, and, what are they going to do? Talon's going to go into his mind, and Rafi's the one that has objection to that. There's still a lot of humor in the way she's delivering it, and it's a different type of humor. She's not trying to be funny, but it's kind of like that witty sarcasm that kind of comes through, and that's why I like Rafi. So yes, assimilate Michelle Hurd's performance.
I want to assimilate Issa Briones' performance in this. She really, that's obviously the B plot is her story, but her character is discovering that she was manufactured and that there's been all of these other versions of herself. And you see her sort of mind breaking in the course of the episode of just like trying to figure out what is actually happening. And I think Issa Briones deserves a shout out for her performance as well. I think she killed it in this episode.
One regeneration that just keeps on throwing me out, and I haven't figured out how to fix it in my mind. But seeing Picard's lifeless body and that it's human, but it's a golem. Like, I still, even in this season of Picard, like, okay, he's either real or he's not. It's just, I saw it and it's like, okay, so then this 21st Doctor is going to know how to work on a golem? Please, really? No, that doesn't work. Talon doing her little mind thing, that was more in line. But the fact that he got hit and then was going through this death montage really took me out of it, because I don't like them saying, well, he's not human, but he's human and we're going to treat him just like a human being. But he's not. I don't like that.
Well, and Teresa doesn't know she's working on a golem. She thinks she's working on a human. We see things like, the defibrillator being used and it having a feedback on and frying it out almost. But, and it's dangerous because you don't know what that's going to do. You're letting a doctor work on somebody who doesn't even have all the facts. She thinks she's working on a human. So I think they kind of work it out that it's just luck that she's able to at least get the physical part of his body revived and okay. On the other hand, it's like there are little things like, I guess we didn't realize that as a golem that he was so vulnerable. I kind of figured he was kind of a little bit more like Data in the grand scheme of things. I know they purposely programmed him not to have like super strength or extra abilities that he could have had, but I kind of thought maybe he's more durable, but apparently not. It's a little weird, and you're right, Amy. This still kind of continues into season 3 as to what is he, what isn't he, what can he do, what can't he do. It's a little bit undefined, and I think that's the problem we have.
Well, did you think that his golem, I guess, is similar to what they did with was it Juliana Traynor in TNG? Where she could be brittle. I mean, she fell and hurt herself falling off that rock or whatever.
Similar, but I mean, she was 100% android. I don't think they fully explain really this. I know everyone calls it a golem, and that's the name that's been acknowledged, but I see it as a living body and almost just like a positronic brain stuck in it. So I see it a bit more of a kind of a cyborg type creation as opposed to an android. So I go more towards the biologic. Picard is still a biological, enhanced in some way. So I don't know, clearly he bleeds, he's got organs that are defined. So yeah, I don't have any issues accepting that Picard is like Picard version 2 in a way, because I still see him just as vulnerable. Even the aging, they said he will die or go offline at roughly the same age he would have if he didn't have Irumodic syndrome. So yeah, I don't see anything special about it apart from all the transplants that he's had.
Yeah, one thing we did get from this week's The Bounty episode is that Beverly says, in regards to Data, Lore, Lau, whatever you want to call him, that she looks at Jean-Luc and says, he's like you. So, so we see some of the differences there. I mean, Data just turns his eyes into a projector. Picard can't do that. So so he is a machine, so he's just not programmed to do certain things. He's programmed to be 100% human, versus Data before Lau, has more abilities and that they're allowed to have. But Beverly did say he's just like you.
So could they write a program, download it to Picard, and have his eyes be a projector?
I believe so. I believe he has that, I believe he has that function.
The capability, but not the program.
The goal was to make him as human as could be, and they turned down. Like I said, they have the aging thing on, like Kelvin said. They have a kind of an end date for him ish, and the idea was to mimic what Picard's life would have been minus Irumodic syndrome, and that's how he was built. And like I said, with Data, or whatever we're calling him, he does not have a lot of those limitations put on his body. He has more abilities to be closer to Data.
I want to say I have a regeneration. I noticed it was already put here by somebody else, but putting this script together for this episode was insanely challenging because it wasn't linear storytelling at all. It was a whole bunch put in the blender and hit puree. There was all this different stuff happening out of order, and not all the characters had stuff to do, and it's hard to pick out like a linear sort of story out of what this episode was about. And I blame a lot of the flashbacks, flash forwards, flash out of it that they did multiple times in this episode. And so for me, that kind of like kept taking me out. I don't know. How did you guys feel about it?
I didn't like it. It was me who put it on there. I didn't like the storytelling mechanism. I know it's not the first time they've done it in Star Trek. They've done it a few other times, but it didn't have any jeopardy. If you're supposed to come into the episode at the end going, "Oh, Picard's going to die," it's like, come on, he's not. He's literally just died. So there was no jeopardy to it. We weren't on. We were curious as to how he got to that point, but it wasn't needed. It could have just told the story in the normal order of things.
Yeah, I agree. It was not necessarily necessary, but I think the thing to remember, I was reminded watching this is, especially just jumping into this particular episode out of 10, especially season 2, I think it's done better as a binge. And so you're just coming off the episode before and you continue the story on when it's over. And that's why it doesn't matter if it's a 38-minute episode or not, because it's just a chapter. And kind of jumping into this out of nowhere, you're just like, what? And then, like you said, there's this flashback of what's to come, or flash forward, flash back, and you're like, it's just creating drama. But like to Kelvin's point, he's going to live, so why build it all up?
It's almost a question to ask, really. A regeneration I put down here is just about Q. and his motivation. One of my friends here in Manchester, shout out to James Price. He's a real New Trek hater, and he really disliked Picard season 1 and 2. And he said to me, "Why was Q even doing it? What was the test? What was the point? Why didn't he want Renee to go to Mars?" And I was like ready to argue, like I do with all the New Trek haters. And I thought, I don't know. So I've had to kind of put it in here that I didn't understand what Q was trying to accomplish by not letting Renee go to Mars and kind of convince Soong to get rid of her. What do we... Has anyone got an answer for me? Christos, what are you thinking?
I think I do, and maybe somebody else has a better one, but I feel like it's typical Q. He's putting obstacles in Picard's way, and it's part of the test, for him to... Everything just continues Picard on this journey of figuring things out. I mean, unfortunately, the biggest thing he's supposed to figure out is what happened with his mother in this episode, in this season. That's part of his journey that Q is kind of set up for him. But it's all the normal Q stuff. If you put this in terms of looking back at TNG and whatnot, he's always, creating conundrums like all good things and things like that, and it's all on Picard to figure out the mystery or to make it happen. So obviously they figure out Q's working against him, but what do? They start doing things to fight back, So that's drama.
Amen.
So all I heard was, we don't know. We don't have an answer.
See, I understand the whole getting Picard to acknowledge how he feels about his mother is having an effect on his relationship with women and romance in general. That's very kind of like what happened with Vash in Cupid. It's,
Or
exactly.
tapestry.
That's
like it's just Q saying
the
what
exploration of humanity. But this whole kind of almost trying to preserve that timeline by stopping the natural events happening, that just didn't really stand up. So sorry, that's a regeneration for me.
I accept your regeneration. I think you've got a point. And I think we mentioned this last regeneration a couple times. Is of course, poor Seven. Just didn't get a lot of lines this week, but looks fantastic.
Beautiful.
All right, shall we jump into some trivia?
Woohoo! Trivia time.
I'm going to kick this off because of the doctor implication, but little Easter eggs in this episode. If you, so we talked a little bit about the scene where Rios is about to be fingered, and Jurati has to come to the rescue. So when his fake ID finally does pop up on the screen, it's Dr. Leonard, a heart surgeon, country doctor, and obviously a shout out to our own Leonard McCoy.
That was cool.
I didn't catch that. That's cool.
Very cool.
That's me doing a lot of... At any time there's any text on screen in modern Star Trek, I always have to pause it and read it. I even did that today with the new episode of Picard because I forgot what Riker's mother was called. So, shout out to Betty Riker.
I paused my way through Daystrom Station.
Love it.
Well, a poster and model of Nomad from the original series The Changeling appears in the background of some of the gala scenes, which I wouldn't even recognize.
When Jean-Luc Picard talks to Renee Picard, he asks her about an OV-165 shuttle, or Spike as Renee calls it, which is previously seen in the opening credits of Star Trek Enterprise. I loved that.
Yeah.
I don't know why I didn't catch it, but cool.
Just little continuity stuff. I love that. Those are the little things I love.
It's very much a connect the dots moment that you've got the OV-165 and then it's in every single episode of Enterprise. That starship has been looking at us for like 100 episodes of Enterprise almost.
Speaking of Enterprise and Picard Season 2, we first saw Picard in Picard Season 2, the NX-01 refit as a model in Picard's, I think his dad's office or whatnot. But we, in this week's episode of Picard, saw at the museum, we saw the NX-01 refit. That was pretty cool, I thought. Another nod to Enterprise. Well, let's see here. The song that Jurati was supposed to sing was supposed to be Feeling Good, a song popularized as a civil rights anthem by Nina Simone. When Alison Pill raised concerns about her singing that particular song in the context of the episode, the song was changed to Shadows of the Night by Pat Benatar, which we threw out there as a very good song for me. I love that. I even listen to that on the soundtrack sometimes.
Oh, it's so good.
What's the concerns that she would have over feeling good?
Well, Nina Simone wrote it. It's sort of a black woman civil rights anthem,
Yeah.
right, for black culture. And so a white woman singing it is sort of like wouldn't necessarily be couth.
And
Okay.
Is what I got out
and
of that.
Alison Pill gets a lot of kind of credit for that decision and that suggestion to do this, because it is a real check your privilege moment, and this was at the heat of Black Lives Matter as well, and for it to be
Right.
the enemy, the baddie, the bald queen, it was all, she just felt it was all a little bit uncomfortable. So well done to her for making people see that connection and saying maybe we should swap this out, let's have a little bit of Pat Benatar.
I also feel like, to be honest, and I love Feeling Good by Nina Simone. It's a great song. It has been getting a lot of overuse in the last, few years. I hear it even in commercials, and I'm like, Nina Simone's rolling in her grave, because she was such like really into the black, civil rights. And just to have her song sort of co-opted and used for like car commercials, it's a little cringy for me on her behalf.
Correct me if I'm wrong. This is the song that Michael Bublé copied, right, and made really big for him, right?
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah. So that's, honestly, probably my first exposure to, and that was like almost 20 years ago or 10 years ago now, 15, I don't know. Time's just all a bubble anymore. But so what I was thinking is like, well, he kind of made it all right, but kudos to Alison Pill then for saying, even though it's maybe, like to Mark's point, overused, just like, hey, we're not going to go there. I thought that, just for that reason alone, I'm glad they didn't use it, because I feel like it is overexposed by everybody.
And this song was so good. I love Shadows of the Night. It was great.
I would have preferred Love is a Battlefield, but that's just me.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's a long one.
Okay, so I want to know who added this trivia. In the music video for Shadows of the Night by Pat Benatar, Dennis Tracy makes an appearance. Now, who is Dennis Tracy? He is Patrick Stewart's stand-in from season 4 of TNG through Insurrection. Seriously, what?
I had to do a lot, especially for the new Star Treks. To get any trivia, I've got to do some research outside of Memory Alpha. I've got to look in all corners of the interwebs, and including, I got this one from rewatching The Ready Room, because I was like, I got to go to The Ready Room for this episode because there'll be background stuff. And I went and I found this bit of trivia, and I was like, okay, insert it here.
Mark,
Perfect.
Wow.
Mark, are you outing us all just for using the Star Trek Companion to get all our trivia?
Oh, that's fine. Wherever you guys can get it.
I feel like
Get it.
if you guys, there was an episode of Trek Ranks not too long ago, all about connections like this in Star Trek. So this is pretty cool. This would have fit perfectly in that episode.
Well, also from the Ready Room, an unaired backstory created by Brent Spiner. Adam Soong is the first Soong, and he was, this is according to Brent Spiner's headcanon. He was abandoned as a baby and adopted by a Chinese family, and that's how he got the last name Soong. Because obviously, if you look at him face value, you wouldn't think that was his last name, but in his headcanon, that's how he makes it fit. And I like that. That's cool.
I think it's necessary, so I'm kind of glad it was cut, but it's a good trivia. All right, shall we go into our final thoughts on this episode? Amy.
Okay, for an undercover episode into our series, this definitely ticks all the marks. Marks all the ticks? Ticks all the marks.
Ticks all the boxes.
checks all the boxes. Yes, I'll take that. I was really concerned that we wouldn't have much undercoverness to talk, but my goodness, what a great episode. And relating it to real life, that's what I always love. And we're seeing our characters, going undercover, faking it till they make it, having imposter syndrome. Like, these are all things that we can relate to and how to overcome them. And it's a great episode. It is difficult because it is smack dab in the middle to just pop it in and watch it, because there's so much going on before and so much that comes after. It is difficult to just watch as a standalone, but that's okay. That's where we are with storytelling. Those are my thoughts.
I'm ending
Kelvin.
as I started. It's still my favourite episode of season 2. I'm going to disagree, Amy. I find this a very standalone, you can watch episode, just because I want to see the Borg Queen and Jurati's interplay. Something that we've not mentioned is with a lot of Talon in the episode, and there's elements of the undercover breaking a little bit because you hear a slur in Romulan when she's getting frustrated reading the text messages and things. So obviously we find out later that she is Romulan, but we assume that she's human all the way through. So that just, I love the actress who plays Laris and Talon as well. So it's just a loving for me, this. I love this episode. And I don't usually like the kind of take them out of your environment romp kind of campy episodes, but for me, yeah, again, ticks all the boxes.
It's a lot of fun, you're right. Mark, final thoughts.
Yeah, Orla Brady, she was also in Fringe, and she starred with Jesus, that actor that just passed away, that guy that was in also The Wire and on all that stuff.
Oh,
he recently
yes.
passed away, but yeah. So anyway, that's been in the news lately. But really great show to check out as well for our listeners. But yeah, I have one thing to say about this week's episode, and that is, we're running with the shadows of the night. I listened to that song on repeat so many times over and over again. And not just the original, but like the Alison Pill version. So when I think of this episode, I think, well, it's worth whatever they throw at me so I can get that, because it was phenomenal. Like, lights out, Agnes. And then it's just like, they go into it with the jazz music, and it's like postmodern jukebox. And it's so much fun. Yeah, I just love this little episode. It's a nice little nugget.
Yeah. Like I was saying before, I think this is a great episode. I like everything. I like that it kind of moves very fast, which is great. One thing we didn't talk about too was just the fact that I love the exchanges between Talon and Picard. How she's kind of asking, because Picard, I think, refers to her as Laris, I think, at one point in the episode. And he's like, so she's kind of like mentally breaking him down a little bit. And she's like, oh, yeah, thank you. Now you show me what you look like when you're lying and, what to expect. And it's building to Picard's feelings for Laris, which come toward the end of the episode, end of the season finally. But we do get a little exposition there. So, yeah, it's a great episode.
There's some great romantic chemistry there. You're right, Christos.
Speaking of romantic chemistry, Amy, why don't you talk to us about next week's episode?
Well, next week's episode, listeners, we are going to start a new series, Romance in Trek. Very excited. We're going to be discussing some of our favorite romances throughout the franchise and why we are so smitten with them. From Kirk and Edith Keeler to Sisko and Cassidy Yates, from Picard and Beverly to Stamets and Culber. So stay tuned for that new series.
We would love to hear what you thought of today's episode and hope you'll join our Facebook group, the BQN Collective, to continue our discussion there. You can also tweet your thoughts at AllGoodPod. Please follow the network on Twitter and Instagram at BQN Podcasts. We've also partnered with our friends at the Fandom Podcast Network, where you can find us by searching their master feed. So, Amy, where can people find you when you are not being coy in disguising yourself as a human, even though down low, you're Romulan.
Well, when I'm not doing that, pretending that I'm human, you can find me here on the network where I'm undercover discussing Next Generation on Galaxy Class. Also on Union Federation, where I'm undercover for the Orville and new Star Trek. I am on Twitter at Miss Amy Nelson, but my favorite place right there, Facebook group BQN Collective. And Christos, where can people find you when you're not being belle of the ball and walking around talking to everyone?
You can also find me on the BQN Collective on Facebook and on my other podcast, What's the T-Bev, which is back this week with season 2, which will have dropped before this episode. So listeners, jump back on the bandwagon and listen. Kelvin, where can people find you when you're not being amazed by a book of matches?
You made me sound like a pyromaniac. When I'm not considering setting fire to everything, you can find me in the BQN Collective on Facebook or on Instagram and Twitter at Kelvin's Timeline. And so, Mark, finally, where can we find you when you're not being fingered by security on your way into a gala?
Oh my. Oh my. Well, when that's not happening, you can find me in the BQN Collective Facebook page. You can also find me on Twitter at MarkWhite207, or if you become a patron of the network on Patreon, you can listen to my show, It's Green. In the meantime, please hit the subscribe button on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get podcasts and leave us a star rating and written review. That helps others to find the show. You can also follow the entire network's podcast with their master feed by searching BQN. That way you won't miss any of our fine shows like Union Federation, Galaxy Class, History with the Szilagys, Infinite Diversity, Mickey's Marvels, Sasquatch, What's the T-Bev, and Trexperts Quiz, as well as this week, possibly launching Captain's Couch, maybe coming out with our own Captain Jeremiah, where he'll be discussing all things Star Trek Voyager, so stay tuned.
At this time, we would like to thank our associate producers, Mahendran Radhakrishnan and Tim Cooper. A special thanks to Graham Kelly for our opening and closing music, and Mark White for our artwork each and every week.
If you'd like to help us keep all of our shows coming to you each week, you can become a patron of the network on Patreon. We will add you to the Hive Mind Facebook group so you can enjoy It's Green, Amy's Math Moments, and other network perks. With a monthly subscription of $5 or more, you can join our meetings on the Hive Mind Roundtable discussion on the second Saturday of each month. Visit patreon.com/BQN to get all the details and watch your messages.
Thank you for listening.
We hope you'll join us
As we search out
All good things. Great joy and gratitude.
You better not include that.
I'm in trouble.